East End of London, Regardie and his family soon moved to Washington, D.C. in the United States. Regardie rejected Orthodox Judaism during his teenage years and took an interest in theosophy, Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jewish mysticism. It was through his interest in yoga that he encountered the writings of the occultist Aleister Crowley. Contacting Crowley, he was invited to serve as the occultist's secretary, necessitating a move to Paris, France in 1928. He followed Crowley to England before their association ended. Living in England, he wrote 2 books on the Kabbalah, A Garden of Pomegranates and The Tree of Life. In 1934, he then joined Stella Matutina, a ceremonial magic order descended from the defunct Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. But he grew dissatisfied with its leadership and left. He also studied philosophy, being particularly influenced by ideas from Jungian psychology, and explored Christian mysticism. In 1937, he returned to the United States, concerned that the Golden Dawn system of ceremonial magic would be lost. He published the Stella Matutina rituals in a series of books between 1938 and 1940. This entailed breaking his oath of secrecy and brought anger from many other occultists. During the Second World War, he served in the U.S. Army. On returning to the U.S., he gained a doctorate in psychology before relocating to Los Angeles in 1947 and setting up practice as a chiropractor. In 1981, he retired and moved to Sedona, Arizona, where he died of a heart attack 4 years later. That is a real kick in the dick. Retire and then you're dead 4 years later. What a shame.
Done.
But he did. He broke the vow of secrecy in his books. And he angered other cultists. He was a real rebel, renegade.
It's like, you know, like screw Coley, I'm gonna share this wisdom and knowledge.
Well, his relationship with Crowley is something we're gonna get into because it's bizarre.
I mean, anyone that just walks away and immediately walks away, that doesn't sound like they ended well.
Yeah, right? Usually the case.
Well, he spoke well of him until his death.
Huh.
He never had anything bad to say about Crowley. But there were some allegations made by others about the nature of the relationship between the two of them and how Crowley did Regardie wrong. But that's something we'll touch on as we get closer towards that part of his life. Regardie was born Israel Regardie on 17th November 1907 off of Mile East Road in London's East End, then a poor area. His parents, Barnett Regardie, a cigarette maker, and Phoebe Perry, were poor Orthodox Jewish immigrants from Ukraine. His family changed their surname to Regardie after a clerical mix-up resulting in Israel's eldest brother being enrolled in the British Army under that name. Regardie emigrated with his parents to the United States in August 1921 and settled in Washington, D.C. Regardie's parents were Orthodox Jews who believed that the Talmudic stories were literally true. With a Hebrew tutor, he gained a linguistic knowledge that would prove invaluable in his later studies of Hermetic Kabbalah. In his teenage years, Regardie rejected this parental faith, coming to describe Judaism as a load of rubbish. He began reading the work of Helena Blavatsky, the founder of Theosophy. From there, he read Hindu texts like the Upanishads and the Bhagavad Gita, as well as Buddhist texts like the Dhammapada and the Nilnanda Pandha. Interested in becoming a painter, he studied at art school in Philadelphia. He also joined the Societas Rosicruciana in America around this time. While in Washington, D.C., he came across a discussion of yoga in Book 4, a work by the occultist Aleister Crowley. Impressed by it, he wrote to Crowley via the latter's publisher, receiving a response 8 months later. Crowley advised Regardie to meet with Carl Germer, his agent in the United States. Regardie visited Germer in New York City, where he purchased the 10-volume of Crowley's periodical, The Equinox. In March 1926, he was initiated into the 0=0 degree of the Washington College of the Societas Rosicruciana in America, subsequently being initiated into the Zelator grade in June 1927. Through Crowley's work, Regardie moved from the practice of yoga to that of ceremonial magic. When Crowley asked Regardie to travel to Paris and serve as his personal secretary, the young man agreed. He told his parents he would be studying with an English painter in Paris. In October of 1928, Regardi sailed from New York City to Paris. Sailed from New York City to Paris. Regardi hoped that Crowley...
Just a little bit of bullshit and all that.
Yeah,
Like,
these,
hey, he's a
yeah.
painter, that's what he does. That's why I'm going there.
He's a painter. I want to be a painter.
I think
I could
Crowley
be-
did do some paintings, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, but come on. It's probably just like, look, if I give you the real explanation, you just wouldn't even understand it. It would take way too long, and I don't have the patience.
It's like telling your parents some BS excuse about your friend who's really your weed guy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
like, yeah, I know this dude who's like this hardcore Satanist, and like, you know, supposedly can make like things appear, so I'm gonna go check that out for a while. That doesn't fly so much. He's a painter. I'm gonna go be, you know, something.
I'm going to study with this painter. Now, Crowley did do paintings. Brian is right. Crowley did do paintings.
Yeah, but the thing is, did he do paintings? Did Israel do paintings?
Well, Israel wanted to be a painter. He was interested in becoming a painter, and he studied at an art school in Philadelphia.
So that's enough.
Well, he wanted to become one, and he studied to be one, but he also became a Rosicrucian. He also...
Yeah, I saw the tools he painted. I don't think he's a good painter. He just wanted to be a Satanist.
Well, these people weren't necessarily Satanists. They're just occultists. We can't conflagrate Satanism with occultism.
Yeah, that's true. You know what? That's where you got to draw the line, though, because this guy Israel is way more of an occultist than just like a mystic type of figure.
He's more
Than
like
somebody like Crowley, who's like I would just consider a Satanist.
I mean, this guy reminds me of Manly P. Hall. A little bit, because Manly P. Hall was the type of guy that just wanted a little bit of taste of everything.
You're on a path. You're trying to find
and
knowledge.
And this guy sounds kind of similar to that.
Jack of all trades and master of none.
Whereas Crowley outright hated Christianity, along with LaVey and some of these other people outright hated it. But Manly P. Hall and this guy, Israel Regardi, they seem to just want to be on a quest for knowledge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So...
Quest for knowledge could be more dangerous than anything sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the more you know, the more it hurts. So Regardi sailed. I want to point out he sailed. It's 1928. He got on a boat and sailed from New York to Paris. Sailed there.
How long did that take? 8
Who
weeks?
knows?
12 weeks?
It probably took a while because he sailed. It doesn't say he got a, steamboat.
You know, the first 4 hours of a boat ride are pretty cool. And then after that, it's just kind of like, all right, I've been on every room in this ship.
Yeah, imagine being on a boat for 7 to 10 days. Been to the casino, been here, been there, been everywhere on the boat.
Imagine if you didn't realize because it never happened to you before, and then you get seasick, really, really bad.
Whoops.
Because when people get seasick, they're like pinned to something to lay down on. It doesn't matter. It could be a bench, it could be a bed. It doesn't matter. I luckily have never gotten seasick.
I don't either.
Me,
My
me
brother
neither.
got seasick, and that's when my father started buying Dramamine for everybody. You just make us take Dramamine before we go out anywhere.
Yeah, me, it was just, it took about a little over a week for my legs to actually settle into the foundation of dry land.
Oh yeah, it does that to everybody, Brian.
So they must have taken a steamer, and who knows how long the steamer took to get across the ocean. But I mean, I think that's pretty false that that he sailed.
I'm gonna guess legit like 3 weeks.
Like flying wasn't probably an option. I mean, flying existed, but it's 1928, so I don't know what commercial flying's like now. I don't even know if commercial flying exists.
Take a blimp.
Yeah, they did have blimps. They definitely had blimps.
Zeppelin.
Yeah, that's gonna go over like a Led Zeppelin.
But this has inadvertently led me to something I never knew happened. In 1908, there was a car race from New York to Paris.
How?
They raced from one end of the country to the other. They got on a boat. The boat took them to Alaska. They got their cars out. They started driving in Alaska. They were like, this is too fucked. We can't do it. They got back on the boat. They rerouted. They sailed them across the Pacific. They landed in Yokohama, Japan. They raced from there through Asia, through Europe, through Moscow, all the way to Paris.
How much money was on that race for them to do all that? It had to be a lot of money.
The winner was the Americans.
Just sounds like they already had a lot of money.
Yeah, right? I think I would have to agree, Jesse.
Alright, guys, let's just reroute and take a boat across the Pacific all the way to Japan.
I'm gonna get off and race.
Yeah, right?
Who gets to unload their car first? That's your winner.
But we've totally digressed.
If it gets another country, all you gotta do is plant some stuff on them.
Rigardi hoped that Crowley would personally instruct him in occult practices, but this did not occur. Crowley expected his pupils to learn things for themselves and only seek his advice when in difficulty. Crowley urged Rigardi to overcome his inhibitions, including by visiting prostitutes to lose his virginity. From one of these encounters, he reportedly contracted gonorrhea.
Of course he did.
Rigardi spent much of his time studying Crowley's material, both published and unpublished. As a magical name, he took the name Frater Nichitset, the Serpent, although he also became known as Father Scorpion. Through his involvement with Crowley, Rigardi came to know Gerald Yorkie, although the duo never became friends. Crowley would sometimes play two simultaneous games of chess, one with Rigardi and the other with York. In January 1929, Rigardi was hospitalized for a period. Then in March, Rigardi's sister, who had become aware of the content of Crowley's writings, contacted the French authorities to urge them to investigate what had happened to her brother. So they did, discovering that Rigardi did not have an identity card permitting him to reside in France. He received an expulsion notice giving him 24 hours to leave the country. Crowley was soon also ordered to leave. Rigardi moved to Brussels in Belgium, where he began a relationship with Crowley's then lover, Maria Teresa Ferrari de Miamar. Crowley had returned to England, and in late 1929, Rigardi joined him there, living in Knockholt, Kent. Crowley could no longer afford to keep Rigardi as his secretary, and the pair parted amicably. Rigardi then became the secretary to author Thomas Burke, who encouraged his own literary intentions. So I also want to point out that, we talk about Crowley and figures that were associated with him. And I always think of Jack Parsons, who we've talked about on this channel before. Jack Parsons, who blew himself up trying to make homunculus, as some allege. He was also a well-known occultist who was taken for a ride by a scumbag known as L. Ron Hubbard. He lost thousands of dollars in that, man. They also were engaged in the Babylon working, but Parsons was writing letters back and forth with Crowley. And then you have somebody like Rigardi, who was Crowley's personal secretary. So his early literary career starts in 1932. While visiting North Devon, Rigardi began working on a book on Kabbalah, from which he drew upon the writings of occultists like Crowley, Eliphas E. Levi, and A.E. Waite. The result is called A Garden of Pomegranates, and was published by Ryder in 1932. He dedicated the book to Crowley. He followed this with a more substantial volume on Kabbalah, The Tree of Life, A Study in Magic. Among those to read his work were the occultist Dion Fortune, who considered to be quite the best book on magic that she had read. She and Rigardi met, but while the latter admired her writings, he was unimpressed with her in person. Rigardi later publicly criticized her for misrepresenting his works in her reviews of them. She claimed that his work bolstered her beliefs about the masters, although Rigardi insisted that he was skeptical about the existence of such entities. The publication of works on Kabbalah aimed at a general audience angered some occultists who thought Rigardi was sharing information too widely. As a result of the controversy, in 1934, he made contact with members of the Stella Matutina, ceremonial magic order, occultist order, that had branched off from the since-defunct Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. With Crowley's blessing, he was initiated into the group, taking on the magical name Ad Majorum Adonai Glorio. He rapidly progressed through the grades and orders, reaching that of Zelator Adeptus Minor, but he grew disillusioned with the group's leaders, regarding them as being egotistical and preoccupied with collecting grandiose titles. He resolved to publish the group's ritual material, believing that it would ensure the Golden Dawn ritual system was not lost and would benefit a far wider range of people. This would entail breaking the oath of secrecy he took upon entering the order. In February 1935, Regardi finished writing My Rosicrucian Adventure, which was published as What You Should Know About the Golden Dawn. His literary endeavors brought Regardi little money, and while in England he lived largely in poverty. Regardi had a growing passion for psychology and studied psychoanalysis through the Jungian framework under E. Clegg and J. L. Bendit. Although influenced by Jungian philosophy, he disagreed with some of the ideas of its founder, Carl Jung, such as the idea that all humans could be classified as either introverts or extroverts, something that Regardi deemed too simplistic. He also began exploring Christian mysticism. He was particularly attracted to the figure of Francis of Assisi, and he began using the name Francis himself after he was given it by a woman he was in a relationship with. Francis of Assisi, I want to jot that down because I think we should do a show about him as well. An interesting character, an interesting life. Christian mystic is in every sense. So yes, let me add that to the list.
I think it's funny he stole the name because the chick told him to.
Yeah, for real.
I think this guy seems like he was whipped a lot.
He had to pay to pop his cherry. He just said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is true. And he caught the gonorrhea.
Yeah, the
Yeah, he did.
gonorrhea.
That's
Hail
quite-
Satan.
Dumb luck there, huh?
Yeah, well, he probably enjoyed it and kept going back.
Yeah. You never forget your first. What was his name?
Came to work for Crowley and he made me go get a prostitute.
I worked for Crowley and all I got was gonorrhea. That should go on a shirt.
Yep, just what a big picture of his face. It's permanent shame.
Well, in 1937, he decided to return to the United States after 9 years abroad. Shortly after doing so, Regardi and Crowley fell out. Regardi sent Crowley a copy of his latest publication. The latter's response made fun of Regardi's use of the name Francis, calling him Frank, and including an anti-Semitic slur. Regardi wrote an angry letter back, calling Crowley, Alice, and describing him as a contemptible bitch. Crowley then circulated a document attacking Regardi, accusing him of exploiting his benefactors and of contracting gonorrhea. This incident led Regardi to distance himself from the occultism for several years. That's cold-blooded shit.
That is cold-blooded shit.
Oh shit.
What's up,
It is
Frank,
really
you
bad.
slur? And then he's like, what's up, Alice, you contemptible bitch? You know? This is in like 1937. Then Crowley's like, oh yeah? This guy exploits his benefactors. And he has gonorrhea. It's
Right.
already been underground for a couple years. Like, it's like, oh no, people know. I'm ashamed.
Yeah, you can't show your face around here no more, gonorrhea.
Yeah.
System scan complete.
And now we just destroyed his name again.
Oh, he had the drip.
Imagine the names he was called. Redonorrhea, probably.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
I just think it's great he called Crowley a contemptible bitch.
Right?
In his 1938 book, The Philosopher's Stone, it was published and it examined alchemy through the lens of psychology, seeking psychological interpretations for alchemical symbolism. Regardie later came to reject this understanding of alchemy, referring to it as by far my worst book and regretting having written it. From 1938 to 1940, Ares Press of Chicago published 4 volumes of the Golden Dawn material edited by Regardie. It sold slowly. The historian Richard Kaknitsky noted that it quickly became a classic. For this act, he was vilified by many in the occultist community, some of whom cursed him. Crowley claimed that the publication of this material was pure theft, although he had personally published Golden Dawn ritual material himself. The published material influenced many readers, resulting in the formation of many groups that used the Golden Dawn ritual as its basis. In the U.S., he focused his attentions on psychotherapy, and especially the works of Wilhelm Reich. He studied at the Chiropractic College of New York City, graduating in 1941. After the United States joined the Second World War, Regardie joined the U.S. Army, serving with them between 1942 and 1945. After the war, he returned to the U.S. and obtained a doctorate in psychology. His interest in Reichian ideas influenced the exercises put forth in his book, Be Yourself, The Art of Relaxation. This followed with his work, The Middle Pillar, and The Art of True Healing, in which he showcased his psychological approach to Kabbalistic magical practices. Maintaining his interest in Christian mysticism, Regardie began exploring Christian Science and New Thought, both movements that stress the ability to heal sickness with thought. In 1946, his book on the subject, titled The Romance of Metaphysics, was published. It would be republished as The Teachers of Fulfillment in 1947. Regardie moved to Los Angeles, where he set up a practice as a chiropractor. For some of his clients, he also engaged in psychotherapy and used Reichian tactics to heal their ailments. His career proved a financial success, eventually earning $80,000 a year. So that's pretty good money in 1947. That's pretty good money today.
Yeah, it's pretty good coin today, yeah.
He also taught psychiatry at the Los Angeles College of Chiropractic. He contributed to the Psychiatric Quarterly and the American Journal of Psychotherapy. So, I mean, this guy did have, his doctorate in psychology. So we got to point out, not only that, but he served in the Army in the Second World War. So, he was just interested in the occult. He's just interested in psychotherapy. He goes to chiropractic college.
We're probably all lucky he wasn't captured because Mr. Mustache there was into the occult too.
He's probably very lucky he wasn't captured.
Ooh, yeah.
Surface scanned.
But he served in the Second World War, part of that generation. Very good stuff. And then he comes back and gets a doctorate, and he becomes a chiropractor. So he's a chiropractor with a doctorate in psychology who's writing books on the occult. This is who we're talking about, man.
He's just doing that to pick up chicks.
Yeah, overachiever. Couldn't.
And he's making 80 grand a year,
Yeah.
cracking backs. And writing
Is that wrong with that?
Had a good
Oh,
sense of
that's
business.
No, that's actually a lucrative profession.
For real.
Yeah. I love a chiropractor.
I've never been to a professional chiropractor. I worked a job
My God.
where when I worked at the country club as a bartender.
Oh my God.
There was a member of the country club who was a chiropractor. And once a month, he'd come in and set up in one of the empty banquet rooms, and he'd do free chiropractic for the whole staff.
That's
So
really
everybody would
nice.
line up before work and get their backs all cracked up.
Sure.
That's the only time I've ever had an experience with chiropractic.
Well, that's professional. I mean,
Yeah, but I've never been to like a chiropractor since. I never paid for a chiropractor, you know what I mean? Like I got a free sample because I worked there.
yeah, it ain't much different. So,
But it was pretty boss.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
I'd rather do that than anything.
Yeah, I mean, I contracted a pinched nerve, and chiropractor cleared me out.
Yep. You walk in there stumbling, you walk out upright. I know that. It's happened many a times. With me.
See, I know somebody who was temporarily paralyzed by a chiropractor for months.
See, that's a quack.
Yeah,
They
but how do you
crack
know?
their neck. They cracked their neck wrong. What'd they do?
I don't know exactly how it went down, but they were immobilized for months, paralyzed, because of a bad chiropractor.
It's a quack.
And it's possible they didn't relax themselves.
Like, who knows how it goes wrong?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
Like, it could
I
be
know,
anything.
very.
It
lot
could
of
just be
people
the luck of the draw, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
Because they didn't seek any damages from the chiropractor.
Weird.
No, because it would be too much to prove it in court,
Oh, okay.
you know?
I don't know.
But they know they didn't seek any damages, and then they returned to full capacity, so I guess we were on the bridge. Anyway, throughout the 50s, Rigardi continued to avoid much contact with the occultist movement. He consistently avoided the public eye, refusing interviews to appear on radio and television. He was concerned that publicity would bring with it persecution. Like Crowley, Rigardi was interested in mind-altering substances, and in the 1950s, he experimented with using LSD under laboratory conditions. Rigardi began editing various...
There's nothing wrong with that. I've
Yeah.
experimented with LSD under non-laboratory conditions.
right.
His was much safer.
That's right, Jesse.
It was probably better shit.
Yeah, no shit.
Indeed. You know what? I have never done hallucinogens while thinking about occult shit. That's probably a fucking whack idea to wrap your head around.
You may summon a demon in or something.
Yeah, I don't know, man. That's not the time to be messing around. Unless you're thinking about something ultra specific that you came up with beforehand. Keyword before.
I mean, unless it's DMT. But 9 times out of 10, the people that do DMT or your first time, they don't know they're gonna have that experience.
Yeah,
So terrifying.
I went to the Gathering of the Vibes, and there was this dude that was a friend of mine, and he knew that I went into E, right? So he was like, "You want to try some Molly?" I'm like, "Well, what's in it?" He's like, "Well, it's E, but it's okay because it's like pure."
Okay.
And I'm like, "Nah, man, I'm good." I'm
It's like asking a diabetic, do you want this made with real cane sugar instead of high fructose corn syrup?
yeah, right.
Exactly.
Diabetic.
But you know what? I did have black tar opium to put on the bowls.
Really?
And yeah, I bought that because I figured I'd never be able to find it again, so I figured it'd be okay because I wouldn't be able to be addicted to it that way. So that makes you feel like you're on vacation.
Surface scan complete. Surface scan complete. Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Surface scan complete.
Vitadyne nanomedicines reach galactic market. The nanomedicines developed in December 3304 by Vitadyne Labs have been approved for distribution to medical facilities across the galaxy. At the time of Vitadyne's original announcement, the nanomedicines were believed to be mere weeks away from widespread availability. The Interstellar Health Organization had verified the medicine's healing properties, and Vitadyne Labs owner Professor Catrian Rook had been hailed as a genius for spearheading the research and development project. But some questioned how a relatively small company could produce such advanced drugs, questions that were answered when Pranav Antal announced that the nanomeds were derived from pharmaceuticals developed by the Utopia Commune. Responding to accusations of theft, Professor Rook clarified that the original nanomeds had been legally salvaged from the wreckage of a Utopian transport ship. A lengthy legal battle followed, with Pranav Antal demanding the return of both the original nanomedicines and the Vitadyne derivatives. Vitadyne argued that the derivatives were of great potential benefit to humanity, and should be made available for sale. The IAHO eventually ruled in favor of Vitadyne Labs, with the caveat that all distribution be maintained by an established pharmaceutical corporation. That honor went to the Vandermeer Corporation, which has now established the necessary manufacturing facilities. It has taken a year for all parties to agree on the rigid quality control measures and personnel qualifications required for the production of the nanomedicines. I am proud to announce that Vitadyne nanomedicines are now available for distribution from the crew assistant, said Professor Rook at a press conference at Heliandoc.
But then there was
We have
these kids who
established a
they
fantastic
found this
relationship
hash
with
in
the
like
Vandermeer team, and we look forward to sharing the fruits of
last
our
night.
labor with humanity.
So I bought like this big thing of hash. So I took a whole
Vitadyne
bunch of that home.
nanomedicines reach galactic market.
Hell yeah. I took
The
a whole bunch of a
nanomedicines
lot of different
developed in
strains home
December
actually.
3304 by Vitadyne
Lovely
Labs
strain.
have been approved for distribution to medical facilities across the galaxy. At the time of
It was raining
Vitadyne's
like cats and
original
dogs.
announcement, the nanomedicines were
So it was
believed to be
funny,
mere
the only
weeks away from
musical
widespread
music going
availability.
while they
The
had 3
Interstellar Health
stages shut down
Organization
from
had
rain
verified the
was
medicine's
powered
healing
out of a school bus. And the old guy playing bass, he was sitting in a lawn chair, like a metal lawn chair. And the plug under him was in a puddle, like where the plug connected. I'm just like, this is...
Oh no, Jesse! I'm like, where are you going?
Are you talking about the power plug or the guitar?
The power plug.
God,
Oh,
Yeah, they
man.
didn't give a shit. Like,
did he
no one-
die?
No, nothing bad happened there.
Well, 'cause
But
it
at
was
that
grounded.
show, it was a 3-day show, so like I think it was either 5 or 7 people got hit by lightning.
Jesus.
And like this one dude, he was walking around with a tinfoil hat like I got over here. And he was like, I feel guilty because a guy like 300 feet from me got hit by lightning. And I was like, Is it
wearing
my
that.
fault? Was it going for me?
Well, I mean, did he have active pickups and his amp was probably grounded, right?
No, actually, the guitar, it was an old bass, so it wouldn't have been active pickups. It would have just been normal old wound pickups without the extra little battery component.
Yeah, I mean
But the
I
power
had
plug
this.
was for the amp. And I don't know what they had inside that they were running this shit off of. They probably just had a generator out there.
I mean, we still have I don't know, do I have it or does my brother have it or my dad have it? I can't remember. I have to look for it. Coral bass amp, and that thing is not grounded. It's 100 watts. It produces a square wave, and if you are playing with that amp, you better be wearing shoes or using an active pickup, because if you're not careful, you can wind up with your dick in the dirt.
Zap.
Zap.
Crickets seem to agree.
Oh, yeah. Chirp, chirp. I don't care. It's nice having the window open.
Yeah,
I
the
keep
window
thinking
open.
it's coming
Indeed.
for me because I'm outside.
I was gonna say, I don't really hear them outside my house right now.
Jesse's.
Did you get much rain today?
Fridge drive charging.
Not heavy.
We got some as well.
Yeah, just like light.
We didn't get shit up here. It was hot. Hot and
Patchy.
dry.
Did you see all the videos for that tornado that went through Orlando?
Yeah, that shit was crazy looking.
I got
Yeah, well, my cousin said that that's what we heard. Because we heard like this massive lightning bolt. I mean, yeah, lightning's loud, but this thing is just, I can't even describe it or imitate it. It like carried on for like a long time. It was like, yeah, and she was saying that's why her son called to check up on us, because that the tornado was supposed to be passing over here. It made sense, and I'm like, damn, that's what that noise was. That thing must have been like dead over top of my head, literally.
Also, if you're paying
Says, are the
attention,
alligators okay? Yo,
Right.
imagine if a twister picked up a bunch of gators and started throwing them down on a city like Sharknado style.
Like Sharknado, I was gonna say. Why not? That'd be fun.
That'd be crazy shit.
the animals are pretty smart. They're pretty keen to when something's happening.
Yeah, they are.
That's why you never see animals get sucked up in a tornado, unless they're domestic pets. But even then, they survive.
Speaking of that, when that lightning hit and it made the weird sound was going on, I've never seen, both of my cats were just like staring at me. Most of the time they'll run and hunker down, and they were so afraid they couldn't move. And they were both just staring at me, and I'm like, I don't know what the hell that was. But I've never seen them, they actually froze in place. You know how cats are, they just run like hell in the walls, they have to.
Oh,
They
yeah.
just stood there. They both just stood there looking at me like, what the hell was that? So, I think that's probably what it was. Or it was real close to me. It was windy.
Yeah, the other trick is right before a tornado, if there's no wind, that should be a telltale sign, or a sign of caution.
Well, I was asleep, and I got woke up by the lightning strike, and then of course the weird noise. Well, the lightning strike would have kept me up, but I was dead asleep when it hit.
Hey, if anybody wants to see some cool pictures, look up Fish Rain.
Fish rain?
Fish Rain. Yeah. Very bizarre. I heard this happening in Italy a long time ago.
Sounds like a fake last name. Hello, Mr. Fish Rain.
Yeah.
Paging Dr. Fishrain. Dr. Fishrain, to the
Yeah.
front desk, please.
Oh, it would stink
Oh,
like
speaking
hell.
of that, my uncle who passed away, he was a rehabilitation therapist, right? So like he was always in the hospitals and doing all kinds of shit. But one of them, there was this guy they paged over the intercom, and his name was Dr. Shitlips. He was like, "You're a doctor. and you can't figure out or have the money to go change your name from Shit Lips. It's like you're a doctor. I think you've elevated above Shit Lips at this point.
Oh, it was awful. Awful day.
All right, so where do
Paging
I-
Dr. Shit Lips.
Back
Sorry,
on track.
let's see. Although he ended his association with Crowley on bad terms, he was angered on reading the first biography of Crowley, The Great Beast, by John Simons, which he thought was unduly negative and failed to understand Crowley's beliefs. Rigardi decided to write his own book on Crowley. It took over a decade to produce. In 1970, Rigardi's The Eye of the Tiger, I'm sorry, The Eye in the Triangle, an interpretation of Aleister Crowley was
System
published.
scan complete.
The work starts as a memoir of Rigardi's time with Crowley before moving on to a biographical account of the occultist's life up until 1914.
Well, that's stuck in my head.
By that point, Rigardi believed Crowley had achieved everything of significance in his life. In the work, Rigardi sought to balance his appreciation for Crowley with the discussion of what he saw as the man's faults. In The Eye in the Triangle, Rigardi argued that Aiwass, the entity who Crowley claimed had given him the Book of the Law in 1904, was in fact a facet of Crowley's own psyche. He also wrote other works. One was 12 Steps to Spiritual Enlightenment, a textbook on how to practice magic that was later republished as The 1 Year Manual. Subsequent books published by the UK-based
Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete.
properties, and Vitadyne Labs owner Professor Katrian Rook had been hailed as a genius for spearheading the research and development project. But some questioned how a relatively small company could produce such advanced drugs, questions that were answered when Pranav Antal announced that the nanomeds were derived from pharmaceuticals developed by the Utopian Commune. Responding to accusations of theft, Professor Rook clarified that the original nanomeds had been legally salvaged from the wreckage of a Utopian transport ship. A lengthy legal battle followed, with Pranav Antal demanding the return of both the original nanomedicines and the Vitadyne derivatives. Vitadyne argued that the derivatives were of great potential benefit to humanity, and should be made available for sale. The IAHO eventually ruled in favor of Vitadyne Labs, with the caveat that all distribution be maintained by an established pharmaceutical corporation. That honor went to the Vandermeer Corporation, which has now established the necessary manufacturing facilities. It has taken a year for all parties to agree on the rigid quality control measures and personnel qualifications required for the production
Surface scanned by 50%.
of the
Surface scan
nanomedicines.
complete.
I am proud to announce that Vitadyne nanomedicines are now available for distribution from the Kuma system, said Professor Rook at a press conference at Iliandok. We have established a fantastic relationship with the Vandermeer team, and we look forward to sharing the fruits of our labor with humanity. Vitadyne nanomedicines reach galactic market. The nanomedicines developed in December 3304 by Vitadyne Labs have been approved for distribution to medical facilities across the galaxy. At the time of Vitadyne's original announcement, the nanomedicines were believed to be mere weeks away from widespread availability. The Interstellar Health Organization had verified the medicine's healing properties, and Vitadyne Labs owner Professor Katrian Rook had been hailed as a genius for spearheading the research and development project. But some questioned how a relatively small company could produce such advanced drugs, questions that were answered when Pranav Antal announced that the nanomeds were derived from pharmaceuticals developed by the Utopian Commune. Responding to accusations of theft, Professor Rook clarified that the original nanomeds had been legally salvaged from the wreckage of a Utopian transport ship. A lengthy legal battle followed, with Pranav Antal demanding the return of both the original nanomedicines and the Vitadyne derivatives. Vitadyne argued that the derivatives were of great potential benefit to humanity, and should be made available for sale. The IAHO eventually ruled in favor of Vitadyne Labs, with the caveat that all distribution be maintained by an established pharmaceutical corporation. That honor went to the Vandermeer Corporation, which has now established the necessary manufacturing facilities. It has taken a year for all parties to agree on the
Surface scanned by 50%. Surface
rigid
scan
quality control
complete.
measures and personnel qualifications required for the production of the nanomedicines. I am proud to announce that Vitadyne nanomedicines are now available for distribution from the Kuma system, said Professor Rook at a press conference at Iliandok. We have established a fantastic relationship with the Vandermeer team, and we look forward to sharing the fruits of our labor with humanity. Vitadyne nanomedicines reach galactic market. The nanomedicines developed in December 3304 by Vitadyne Labs have been approved for distribution to medical facilities across the galaxy. At the time of Vitadyne's original announcement, the nanomedicines were believed to be mere weeks away from widespread availability. The Interstellar Health Organization had verified the medicine's healing properties, and Vitadyne Labs owner Professor Katrian Rook had been hailed as a genius for spearheading the research and development project. But some questioned how a relatively small company could produce such advanced drugs, questions that were answered when Pranav Antal announced that the nanomeds were derived from pharmaceuticals developed by the Utopian Commune. Responding to accusations of theft, Vitadyne nanomedicines reach galactic market.
Surface scan complete. Surface scan complete. Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Surface scanned by 50%. Surface scan complete. Flight engaged. Landing gear deployed.